Um, we're going to mobilities. Um, and we are using some really good organic chemicals, which right now in a plastic there. We during the break we mixed together the um the coconut and palm oil that were hard at room temperature. We melted them, and when they melted, we combined them with the olive oil. So we got liquid oil over there. And we're waiting for them to get a little cooler to be closing to the last solution that we mixed earlier, and then we will put them together. And then it's interesting, that person is made. That basically made it. So if we only do that, one was, well, we're gonna do some other things too, because we can, and it'll be fun. And so, so, and just I just want to say a little bit about files. I'm sorry to already finish some of this, but there's a couple of different points I want to make. The quality of the soap is gonna depend on the quality of the ingredients we use, and also in it'll affect how we feed the body and the planet. And I just want to mention, when I mentioned the palm oil that can be controversial. So I talked about this more in the first speech, but just so people know, first of all, that this is this certified, it's RSPO IP certified soup. It means that it's like the highest level of that certification. It's visible to the soup. Um, and there is, bless you, there is a movement that I think we need to continue called Palm Done Right. And there's an argument to be made that actually palm oil, if it's done right, is more efficient than other vegetable oils. It may actually be the direction we need to move in, only not taking down the rainforest to do it, but doing it responsibly. Actually, we get a lot more oil for the acre than we do with other commodity oils. So that is just an interesting thing to be tuning into. And I know sometimes people hear palm and then they just want to hold off because they've heard that palm is bad. And good that people are tuning into that, because that's been very important. And there's more to know. So, let's just talk about there. I'm happy to talk about it afterwards too. I'm going to just take a look at the website that's called It's Palm Done Right. I think it's palmdoneright.com. If you search for palm done, there's stuff there. Okay, so the step we were actually talking about, now that we've got basics for our soup, and if we put those things together, we'll get some. But what else do you want to do to enhance it? So, a couple of things is local books, and the other is local honey. And so the idea is that we'll make it a little so. Is there anyone who would want to develop books and or honey in the soup? We're gonna have to look at it. Someone mentioned allergies and just mobility is still putting people who like to have issues that usually works for everybody. Okay. So we can throw the oats in whole, we can grind them up. I tend to like to grind them to be fine. Just because not everybody wants to mixture in their soup. But we have choices, like we use these right here, and we have the board. So whether people who really like the idea of having chunks of oats in their soup, or should we, you want chunks of oats? You buy my intentions for us? Um, it's 6 so, I'm not going to be demonstrating using the first one, which is sometimes nice because there are different things we might make some might want to grind things up. So, there are so many things that you can do that it's interesting and different qualities. So, there are some examples here. This is you can see the size of me. I chopped and ground some different herbs and lavender, lavender. And I was saying during the break that um as we were talking a little bit about colorants and how a lot of things that have nice color labels will just turn brown. Most flavors will turn brown, but parsley retains its color. So most of what you see is the green from the parsley. But there are some other herbs in there too. And let's see, and here this one has ground walnuts and stone ground organic cornmeal in it as an exfoliant, just to make things scrubby. It's also got some lemongrass from the garden and some I added some lemongrass essential oil too. So it's a nice scrub. Um, this one looks nice and smooth, even though I made kind of a slurry, and I'm surprised. This was experimental recently. I'm actually really excited about this. This is a sleepy time tea with honey. I was talking about this a little bit in the first in part one. But I'm bringing it up now just because we're talking about color. I was surprised at what happened with the color. I made kind of a slurry of chamomile flowers that was actually really dried, and I'm just so interested in it. So and here's a swirl. This one is a swirl, and it also has upcycled coffee grounds in it, and also the swirl. It's interesting things that we can do with color and with texture. And we're gonna do anything that's gonna be with most things if edible, they're gonna look it. I don't know. I think I've said that before, but I think that's probably true, right? Some things better than others. Um, but okay, um, so we want to use this. So I would recommend. So we're making is about a 12-pound bag. So for a 12-pound batch of soup, um, maybe maybe like a quarter, I think a quarter to a half a cup. Oh, I'm gonna see what she records. So maybe we're um, I should back up a little bit more. So agenda for our soap making workshop is basically a recipe that comes from this book. So making herbal and vegetable based soaps by Susan Miller Kievich. So basically, we've taken this recipe from this book, which I lifted from the first time I went to a soap making workshop, and they took this recipe from this book. Um, and uh, so in terms of, I'm going to see what she suggests about how much oatmeal. Let's see what she says. She says, um, oh, she says more than I was saying. She says a half to a cup of, she says to finely ground, and we were talking about leaving it to heat. So I think, so we have choices. The suggestion from the author is a half to a cup of finely ground oatmeal. Um, we can, I think, wouldn't want to have not ground oatmeal. Um, but we could also mix a little, like we could grind up a half a cup and then put another half a cup not ground. And then we'd it that would be a nice way to do it. I see people nodding to which we got. Okay. So let's grind it. You see, there are a few different things to be thinking about in this. So I'm gonna, even though we'll proceed with the oats in a moment, I'm gonna go check on the temperatures to see how we're doing with the lye and the oils. What we want is we want for them to be within about 20 degrees Fahrenheit of each other. And what happened in one is that when we mix the lye solution by putting the sodium hydroxide together with water very carefully and according to the safety guidelines, and that's an important part to be aware of. Make sure that you get that part one. So when we mix those things together, there's an exothermic reaction and it heats up and it got hot. We took it a little while later. It was it 164 degrees? And so when we bring them down, we want them both to be in the range of between about 80 and 100 degrees, within about 10 degrees on each or Fahrenheit when we're ready to put them together. So we're checking. So the oils are here. And they're at 101.1. And the lye is 94.4. So they're great in relation to each other. And you can get a little well, put the fan or maybe it's the lye solution, it made fumes, and we just wanted to make sure it didn't. We don't do that again. Okay. And also the reason the lights over there on the windowsill is so that it's venting and the fumes that were there in the beginning were going out. And also we want it away from everything else to be safe because we need to treat the light with a lot of respect. Okay, so foods. I'm realizing that you can make what you would use usually to measure or something, but that's fine. We can use this little measuring glass. So Um, so we said we're gonna grind a half a cup and then have a half a cup not ground. What's somebody like a turmeric using the grind? Something like it, you. I see you smiled when I looked that way. We did the lie and see the name. It's been there. How long do you think it's been up? Um, the workshop started at 9. It was probably 9:15, 9:30. That sounds about right. It depends on the ambient conditions too and the temperature of the water when you start. It's about half a cup. Do you want to pour it right in there? I think. If I would. Is it okay if I take it?
Inactive.
Okay, and then this lid goes on. Oh, and. So we can put this lid right on. And then when we put this down on here, it'll rhyme. Want to check and see if it. This is just a matter of taste of what people prefer. So it's still a little chunky flaky, but it's not. Do you want to do a little more? You think that's good? A little more. Okay.
Bro.
What do you think? You think that's good? Should we show everybody? Okay, here. I'll bring it around a little bit. So I don't know if we can actually show this. Yeah. Okay. Looking like this.
Right up in there.
Yeah. Okay. So, and now we said we wanted to do some that was uh not brand, but we're mixing them together. So I'm just gonna for another person in here. It's gonna be kind of intensely but that's okay. It's what we want, right?
We're an O group.
I guess we are. A Chicago group, right? Okay. All right, so let's be here and ready. Honey, up to a quarter cup. I wouldn't go over that because it 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 won't integrate as well after that. So do you want a full quarter cup? Do you want, yeah? Does anybody not want where I could I'm like. So, so would be just the maximum, so we'll do that. So this is a nifty little thing that uh that is just a nice way to measure honey because you can just push it out instead of dealing with trying to use a spatula or whatever. It's just the lines are getting lost here. You know what? I'm just gonna use this long line because I can't read the lines now. Okay. So if I weren't on camera, let's see. I should let somebody else do this part. Can I like that? Yeah. Let's do that. Right. Can I do something? Thank you. Okay. Okay. We've got our oats and our honey and we've got our oils at 98.4 and we've got our lye at 92.8. I want to see the oils. Do that. So this is our yeah. This is our combined and yeah. So I mentioned earlier that we were using a larger pot than we needed to. Can you see that?
A little bit more. There we go.
Be able to see in and also just it's less likely to splash as we're varying the process. Is that use infrared? Infrared, it's just infrared. Um, just not synthesis. They stand for red. It's like but it's a an accurate reading. I also for backup, batteries and what I used to use, which was this thing, which you can use. It's a little messy when you're going from one to the other. It's good to use two of them. But it's fine to use that. You can basically you want a thermometer that and you'll be able to read the range that you want to use. It is included with use. You want to you don't want things to be too far information. Um, but yeah, so the I did it for years before I had the infrared thermometer, and then I had to learn. When I would look at the word, I would say infrared because that's what it looks like to me, but it's infrared, and I should know why. Stop saying. Okay. I should have just left that there. There's some oil. Right. Um. Okay. So because the lie is the lie, and we want to be so careful. What I'm going to do is instead of carrying the picture of lye all the way over here past the wire, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on the table, and I'm just going to walk that little way with the lie. I'm going to combine them, and then everything's going to be safer because they're already now becoming neutral with each other. And then that'll go on for weeks. But so that's how we'll do that. So I'm going to carry this close to the line. That's right. And I'm that, and I'm gonna put some of the safety gear back on. We're going to put that covering your skin, covering especially eyes, hands when we're dealing with light. It's not covering the mess around it. I I go back and forth because it's really important for people to understand about the safety, but I'm going to scare people. It's like you can do it. We're doing it. And, you know, I commented earlier about a lot of times people come to us making workshop because that's scary and they want to see someone else do it. And so, and that's what we're doing it. So I've got my eyes covered, my hands covered, and my arms and hands, ankles, shoes. And I'm going to come over to your neck. And what people is right here. Earlier, this slide, you know, again, we're putting people that still been around and wide. And I also put a little cover on it so you can fly in and visible that. And here it comes. I am going to give it a little roll just to make sure that it's on it. And then I'm going to. One thing I really like about using this picture in this pot is I can move the picture all the way into the pot, and so it just minimizes the confusion of the plastic. So I'm just lowering it in there. Great. Two. This is still live. It's a live table and people still kind of decide what the same is. We're going to reline things here. And one more. We're still crazy. There's both right there. Yeah. Okay. Now, remember when it looks clear and lovely, and now it's found.
Right.
Because okay, now, um, but then you can start really long. Now, more people maybe, now we can really, I'm gonna take this. Okay, I'm still gonna use the gloves, but I'm less concerned now with the other thing getting splashed in my eyes. So most everybody now uses stick. Which is this. Yes. Okay, so it is time to start blending. And it'll take a while, so there's the opportunity for lots of people to have turns. If you want to, this model is so that it wants to put on loose and when anybody wants to. So I am going to right here. In your silver version, one has to be fingers. You make them. Yeah, in general, that's true of anything that you're using when you make some better, not to also use the same things for food. Um, where? Oh, but what's happening now is things are starting to combine in there, and they're going to be trying to find each other. And we're going to we'll put it all the way in because we don't want to make bubbles. And then we want to use the slumber. Yeah. Okay, the tricky thing now, let me. Hmm, I'll take it. It- Thank you. There, this, I'm having, I'm having trouble with both of my stick blenders. I need an upgrade. This one's adding a lot of bubbles right now, so it looks like, yeah, but the other one's having a problem. Okay, the whole the way back, you know, is what we call, and what trace means is when we stir something in it, we can see the trace of what we've done. Like, when you're making an icing or something, a frosting, and it starts to build its shape, just a little bit. It's looking, so it's not, we're not gonna get this things, we're just starting. So we'll resume. What other people gonna wanna turn? I want to. Yeah, okay, it's me. Thank you. So there's me. Thank you. What's that? No, so this is the top. Okay, so, um, so we're looking for trace. I'm just trying to stir a little bit and see. Not yet. It's still pretty liquid. This can go on for a while, and especially depending on the kind of soup you're making and the ingredients you're using, there are some recipes take a longer time. We've still got some. Do you want to keep going? Yes. Let's check it again. That looks good. So again, we're looking for it to be thick enough to leave a little trace when we, yeah, we're not there yet, but it's certainly getting thicker. It is getting thicker. Do you want to keep going? I'm making you. Yeah. Like maybe some. Yeah. Yep, there are two buttons. One up to the top one, that's just long, but. Just for a minute. Okay, and just wanna see how it's doing with getting thicker. It's getting a little thicker, but it's not a trace. There are a lot of air bubbles in here. What we'll do is we'll pound it a little bit to make sure the bubbles rise before we pour in. You wanna keep going? Is there anybody else who would like the? Right, it's your turn. I think we may be getting to trees. Yes. Gotta show you all first one, but just as it gets. Just blah, blah.
And make a jam and stick it to the back of the spoon.
So it's actually, or I might have moved it up. No, I don't see it.
You wanted a little bit thick.
Little bit. Yeah, I don't. It's not quite that fun. Do you want to move? Do you want to just? It's. I think. Nobody else is jumping up to do. You want to just right? So got your gloves. What's your step? What's this? See. Yeah, it is. It is. Don't think it's it's. Oh, it is. It's barely getting pictures. I think that if you do it for like another minute, we'll be there. And then bring it around to everybody. Okay, wave restrict. I'll come around and show you what that means. Thank you. Look, that lens. Oops, okay. So I'm just gonna um I want to throw you in such a way that you can see the spatula. The spatulas. I'll put this back in. It's fine. Okay.
Easier people come to you. You want to show them?
You know, I'm still and I'm not sure. Would you rather come up or would you rather I bring it around?
You can show and not have the whole thing.
It's like,
As long as I get a little gap for this camera.
right. So you see the way there's a very subtle spool that stays on top. That's it. It's where we see a case of where we drip it. It's the only thing. People see. What the phrase you're talking about? You see, like when I pour it a little bit, you see, you can still see the line where I poured it. Yeah. You still see it, still the other case. Yeah. Yeah. See? Okay. Oh, excuse me. Something you know. You don't need to. I was just thinking you're still I would ask you more actually to see. So we are ready. Now that we got into space, this is where we add additional ingredients. Um, and by waiting to this point, it's gotten less harsh. Because of the combining, because of things becoming more neutral, because of acid and base are neutralizing, it's less harsh now. So these ingredients, gentler for the ingredients that we're adding. So we will add. Does somebody want to add? Does somebody want to actually pour in the oats?
It's two ingredients, so there could be two ingredients more.
And I get to show you my favorite small. One would some of this. And then from on this little thing. It's just a spatula. Like it's I squirrel. I really like to like the bowl. Like I'm so like if I'm eating ice cream and it's good, like I don't and this it's like I can it's like I can just do this and it's really this is a wonderful little tool. And when you're using, you know, small things and trying to it's just I recommend this tool, which is you can probably find it online. It's Tool is the brand that makes it. Um so, and that's just for kid, like you're not making soap. This is just a really nice tool to have. When you get to the bottom of the jar of sauce and you're just trying to empty it out.
Somebody calls that a sternal.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she didn't. She's quick she was a little. She had a whole set of those. Sternals. Yeah.
So, would you like to check for that?
It's way faster.
And you know, whatever you do is fine because we're gonna use this thing again, so we don't want to be afraid of being fast.
Like the Mediterranean ice cream.
Yep. Just to the bottom, just for the bottom of the bowl. When you said you use the carrots, how did you like break them down and you dry them? I cooked the carrots so they were soft and I pureed them. And but the other thing that I shared with people before the break was that I also when I first did it, it was a pretty faint orange color, and to make it stronger, I tried using red palm oil, and that's actually a lot of the colors coming also from the red. So together, they're making that color. Okay, so the honey is in. Who wants to put oats in? It's a fun job. Let's leave that honey. I'm gonna say that feel free to come up and look and see what's happening. That's easier than me going around with it. And it's so right now you can imagine that the things were dumped on the top. And now we're gonna take the stick blender to integrate. Actually, I'm gonna start with the spoon to just integrate them. And I think I'll just finish it off with the stick blender. Um, you know, sometimes it's nice to mix a little with a little to just get it integrated and put the whole thing together. I think about when we ground up the oats to be so fine, it might have been nice to do that, but didn't get one Monday. Um, so I'm just gonna just clean enough. I have quite a statue collection since I've been making so. Um, yeah. So I'm just gonna do a little bit more of the blendings. Okay, my friend, we've made we have a big vat of soup here, and now it's a matter of holding and cutting and curing and washing. So, okay. You want to see how this looks, right? Do you want me to bring it around? You know, what was that for having party? No, it's like, I don't know what like what. It looks like mess. Where we put the camera second. Here.
We might have everybody left so you can see the camera.
I can see it, and this is the text. You're getting into six, so it's still. This is the.
I think you could just tilt it towards the camera. Probably might work.
Not more than that. You got it? Has anybody joined us?
No, but there is a recording and they'll want to see it too.
It's actually, I'm less nervous with the being on that really that much later. It's a really interesting thing to try to factor in, but not try too hard to factor it in. Just something might be watching this later. I'm not really factoring it in. I can't. It's scary. Okay. So, this is the soap. Let's talk about molding. Wait, let me just look at my notes and make sure I have all the things. And also staying on track. Once we've mixed the soap, the one thing that I want to mention is that in terms of having time for it, if we blend it more and it gets thicker, then it's going to be closer to wanting to in. And we, depending on what we do with it, if we wanted to do something artful that would require being able to manipulate it in one way or another, we care about how thick it was getting to be able to make that process. If also if we were anything else that we were adding, like if we wanted to add essential oils, we'd be adding them at the time that we were also adding the honey and the oats. Essential oils are we want to take good care of them. They're delicate and they lend a lot to the stone. Uh Fragrance oils, which are not natural essential oils that are made in a lab to smell nice. Um, they can make things happen more quickly. So, it's not my choice to do that, but if people want to make soap and use the artificial fragrance oils, you might want to have in mind that it's possible for things to get wrong before you're ready to. So that's just something to do research about. It's not something I know a lot about. Okay, so in part two, also, we haven't talked a lot about, we haven't really talked about like natural versus artificial. We did that more in during part one, just in case anyone's not gonna go back to part one. Just in terms of just our impact, something we didn't talk about before, is that also when we use soap and then some goes down the drain or makes it into our waterways or whatever, it also it really makes a difference what's in it, because as with everything else, if we're using artificial chemical things and they're going out, they're going to have an impact in the environment. So we talked a little earlier about the impact on bodies, and we talked about the impact on the ingredients when we're just in terms of how they're grown and whatever. But there's also, after we use, there are cases of things that come from laundry detergents or whatever that don't go away. And the natural things they do, and they get reintegrated back and all that. So again, there's pretty much endless reasons that it's nice to do natural soaps and everything that that you're able and interests you and all that. So if there were artificial ingredients in here, that would have been a lot of time, I think, for getting thicker. And we actually want to be able to doesn't want to make a lot of little containers. Should get moving. So basically, we put salt in a mold and it'll harden. And this soap is a relatively soft soap. There are ingredients that people add to make a hard, which we're not doing now. It's interesting. Here's one over here that I make with sea salt. And one of the effects of the sea salt is that it makes for a harder hand. And that's why this one, you can see I used an individual silicone mold, which is different from something like this, where you could use a low mold or a slab and just cut bars. And I should with people also, I like playing with the cookie cutters, making different shapes. So in terms of what we're gonna do for molds now, so in general, this is a mold. This is a loaf mold that is basically a wooden box. It has a silicone liner, which is really nice when you want to unmold it. You can take the silicone liner out and it's a much simpler process. It until recently, until we had the silicone liners, it would be pretty standard to use a wooden box and line it with a wax paper, parchment paper. For a long time when I started making soap, before I was ready to invest in having molds and things, I would use a corrugated box and it was fine. It happened to coincide for me with when I was trying to transition from plastic containers to glass, and I was investing a lot in sets of Pyrex. And so those Pyrex boxes were a great shape and nice firm corrugated. And so I'd line it with the wax paper. I'd use that for a mold, and then it was disposable. So there were lots of variations, and then silicone molds that have shapes and things that, again, for this soap, that wouldn't be successful because the soap's too soft to be molded if there's an intricate shape. Um, this is brand new. I haven't used it before, and I'm excited to it's just a nice small size to try something experimental. And I thought it'd be fun to try using it today. And then, but really for everyone to take home, we've got these little takeout containers. So what we'll do is we'll pour the soap into these containers, and then everybody will get to take some home. And this works well because you can close it up. If we were if we were at home and pouring soap in a mold, we would also want to cover it with a blanket to insulate it. Part of what happens when the soap is poured is that um, it will again, heat up. Now that these are combined, the heat's gonna go up and it goes through a gel phase. And whether it goes through that phase or not it's just a cut. It's fine either way. Some people prefer it one way or the other. The most important thing really is just that you want it to be uniform. You don't want it to just gel up in the middle and not in the edges and then have soap that just looks different in different parts. And that's why I would insulate it. So it's possible. Well, I mean, this is gonna be a small, so whatever happens to it will happen to the whole thing, I think. What should I tell you about this? So once you get home with it, what you're gonna wanna do is give it a good day and a half to 2 days. And then it'll be firm enough that you can take it out of there and you can just take a little. And then you're gonna wanna leave it somewhere where it has exposure to air. Again, to continue with that process that's going on of getting milder. And that process, the biggest boost of that sonification process happens in the first 24 to 48 hours. So by a couple days from now, it'll settle there. But it needs a good 4 to 6 weeks to really be mild enough to be safe for everyone. And And when you take it out and you place it somewhere where it's exposed to air, it could be nice to put it just like on a brown paper bag, room temperature. Um, and you can cut it or roll it into the wall, or you can use it, just whatever you feel like doing with it. You could just use that big block. I know it's fun to like make enough pieces so that you can share it if you want to share it. So Beth was sharing with me that she cut hers up and left it secure and somebody else used it. Really enjoying it. Okay, so I'm gonna, so there are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 of us here. So I'm gonna, I'm gonna, I'm gonna pour some in each and everybody's gonna have some.
Can you make 15 so this time my brother gets his own?
Yes, and we'll be able to give you one more too. Kim was asking. And then I want some for the organizers of the works over here. And the people who are helping me at my sewing table. Okay. So I am I'm just gonna set it over here.
When you take it out of the bowl with it in now,
Mhm.
you put it somewhere like on a tray or something? For how long?
For 4 to 6 weeks.
4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And then at that point, it's that after you can still move it, you know.
No, it would be when you unload it. When you unload it in the next, day or two, that's when you want to put it or roll it or you put it into the shape you want. And then over that 4 to 6 weeks, it'll be hard baked.
You know? You rather.
You could, but if the exposure to air, it's better. Like I don't think there's harm in leaving it in, but I think it's better if you take it out. Because the air is really helping it go through that process where it's getting control milder. Then probably you really slow that down. Like if you say didn't have air conditioning and then just choose and stuff. It actually might speed it up. I'm not sure, but it might speed it up. Yeah. I think the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to use, I really like using funnel pictures. Then I can actually pour it right in.
Got some oats in it.
Yeah, these are some serious oats.
That's the name of the soap.
Serious oats.
Or that's our soap business.
You were make it go so
Uh-huh.
great grandson need lots of donuts. So
What's the appeal of the goat milk versus other kinds of milk? Like, why do we like? I've never seen cow milk. So
goat's milk has natural cholesterol and milk. I don't know about cooking. Goat's is the natural cholesterol. Yeah. It's automatically soft, like my hands even just from moving it. Soft. Yeah. You have goats?
yeah,
Oh, much of that. That's nice. May I be right back in a few minutes? Thank you.
Yeah, so do people have any other questions or um insights that you want to share?
I have things floating flowers. Flowers from
Actually, yes, calendula flowers are one of the flowers that actually will retain their color. And so I can't remember if I said it during the workshop or just in between, but most things will turn brown. But marigolds, actually, those petals.
Yeah, I use my mom for some winter and they told me color they were
Uh-huh. Yeah,
miracles or calendula, they're different.
aren't they really close?
A nice bright color about the different flowers.
I thought that I had seen them talked about interchangeably in this regard, but I might be wrong. So I'm not sure.
Different places. That's why some parents did not encourage it.
Are they?
So they're like a similar flower, but the Mexican marigold or Mexico, it's different than the other like
The
there's something different going on.
So are they, you saying they're genetically very similar, or just different places?
They do look alike. They just different places. That's pretty much it. It's like they're like cousins.
Okay.
Different soils, different temperature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a really nice miracle.
Oh yeah, and there's different types of marigolds.
Uh-huh.
Mexican marigold is one that I work with, but they're
Oh.
American.
You do fabric with.
Salves.
Nice. And when you make salves with marigold, are there like, in terms of medicinal uses, is that interchangeable with what people say about calendula? Do you know?
Actually, the reason I make it is the salve itself. It's kind of like the oats. It works for your skin, so it moisturizes. And then if you have a cough, rash, burn, it helps with that. But aside from that, I don't know.
Yeah. It's you crazy good glass. It was really nice.
Say soaps that are in a layered color. You just pouring it in like one and then the next, and it'll get those layers.
So that's where you'd wanna, let it get thicker before you add the next one so that they will stay a little bit separate.
Oh, so you'll do one, wait, and then add one on top, and
Depending, if you know, then the other one can maybe sit right on top of it, maybe you wouldn't have to, like, if, at some point in the process, you want the, whatever's on the bottom to be able to hold up whatever's above it, so if it's already thick enough when you first pour it, then you might not have to wait for the other, you know what I mean?
It's good thicker.
It is. It is. It's gonna get so thick that it's gonna be hard, but not till we're ready for it.
I like that. That makes sense.
Soaps are nice. I was once in science soup and there was someone at my table asking, if there's anything different about the bottles versus tubers. And there happened to be someone else at the table who said she was a massage therapist. She was saying that using a soap ball, like it's just really nice to break up the fascia, and it's just, it's good to roll a ball on your over your parts.
Is there anything that keeps it together longer? Like, putting it on so different things. Like, are there other things that make it last longer?
So exposure to air, especially with like when you say putting on a soap dish, you want it to be able to drain. Um, I I like to use a soap salve. I have my soap kind of hanging in the shower. That's really nice too. If just when you get to the soap ends, you can slip or see out in the shower, so you can get up going. Just one soap ends in the my study, and then it all can rain and it's that that's what I'm saying. But having like just a dish that drains so it's sitting in water is the key thing. Was there anything about our process today that surprised anybody? Is this what you expected?
Yeah, I'm going to take 4 to 6 weeks for it to cure.
Uh-huh.
And then covering it. Right. You take it out of that,
Uh-huh.
try and cover it with a towel.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that we need to do that now.
Right.
In general, but in general, that's a good thing to do, yeah.
For the insulation or just suffering.
For the installation, we're gonna close up these little box. I want you to bring that easy. You have to cover it. No, when it's curing, you won't need to.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. Now, the ingredients that we're using, just really, there isn't anything that you shouldn't be able to find, you know, in your community. Why were people around when I said that, it's good to use a food grade lye, but you can go to the hardware store and get like a Red Devil lye. You just want to make sure that there's nothing else in it. It's just 100% sodium hydroxide. Um, and for starters, you can do that. And the oils, um, you can get the oils in the supermarket, and different recipes use different oils. Was it in one or two that I said the thing about quantification values? Just in one about different oils having different rates at which they combine with lye, and so you can't just interchange the oils in the recipe. You need to know what you're doing with that. Did I say that during part two? That was okay. So just to make something clear, so you can't just look at the recipe and say, I'll use this on oil instead. You need to check on those quantification values if you want to do that. So you also, you can play with this, you know, scrape of oats or celery or whatever, or you also could. Or you might want to, as it gets thicker, you can play with just the texture of the top. Sometimes it's nice to kind of swirl it. It's not so thick now that it'll a lot. There's something else that commonly happens that isn't a problem, but it might happen with your so the AC cone is that there's a reaction that happens with the air where it runs kind of powdery on top. And it's fine, it doesn't hurt anything, it's soap ash is what people call it. It could even be interesting aesthetically. But so there can be that ash forming on the top. I'm actually gonna. Here we added mint. So I've added mint. Again, mint leaves are likely to turn brown. But using mint like essential oil can be lovely. I have one here that I've got peppermint and spearmint essential oils, and also um I can't think of what they're called. Camphor, quick camphor, and eucalyptus, and some spirulina from color in this one. But the plant is simple to right. That's yeah. Yep. Okay.
Is there something that makes a nice, sort of really pretty brown to cover that up?
Hold this phone. Might be. Yeah, thanks for watching me. When you're saying something that,
Like if I use different leaves, maybe some of them.
yeah, I do. I have a mint chocolate swirl that is fun. It was really hard to get until I figured it out. It was really hard to get a natural chocolate scent. There's all kinds of artificial fragrance of chocolate. But what I finally figured out was just using a natural cocoa butter. It felt really chocolatey in the final product. So that was but at first I was adding cocoa and more cocoa, and it was making brown suds when I first tried it. I went back and I finally figured out. They're gonna practice.
We have a few more minutes left, so I don't know if there's anything you wanted to do sort of in closing.
I think that it's a really nice group. I'm so glad you all came. You can put your hand out, then you have my email and my phone number. If you try making soap and you like have questions or you have an obstacle or something, feel free to give me a call. And don't worry that I might not remember. You just me where we met, and I'd be happy to have, um, and happy to help with that. I we love it. I love you in the area. Yes. Me too. So, but really,